Coming up, one of the greatest Olympians of all time shares her secrets to success. And prayer leads to multiple miracles for a woman clinging to life.
Well, welcome to 700 Club Canada. Bill, it's an exciting day today.
Yes.
It's the first day of the Olympics.
I love the Olympics.
Me too.
I love the Olympics.
I can hardly wait. Okay, there's 5 new sports, Bill. Now, you might not approve.
Yeah, because I think there's a difference between sports and leisure activities.
Okay.
And I think sometimes some of these sports are actually leisure activities.
Well,
but
let's see
give
if
me
it
the
meets
list.
the Bill Markham approval.
Okay.
So skateboarding.
Yep, they're
okay, good,
athletes.
because my son does serious skateboarding, so you can't diss that one. Surfing.
Athletes.
Yeah, right?
Yep.
Sport climbing. I don't know what that means yet.
Athletes, because I've tried to climb and that's hard. Yep, so climbing.
Okay, well, I'm going to check that one out. Baseball and karate.
Yep, those are all sports.
Oh, well, it's past the Bill Markham approval, so we're good to go, people.
And I'm really excited because one of my good friends, Sarah Pavin, is going for gold in the women's beach volleyball, so it's going to be great.
That's awesome. I'll be watching.
Well, joining us today is a member of Canada's men's national soccer team, Joel Waterman. And so, Joel, thank you so much for being here today.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys, for having me.
Now, you've dedicated your life to becoming a professional footballer, which I think is awesome. But how has your faith impacted your athletic career?
Yeah, it's impacted it immensely. I became a Christian in the summer of 2018. Before that, it was all about individual accolades, what I could get out of it, being kind of my selfish ways of what I could get most out of it and nobody else. It was all about compete, and that's kind of how your ways and how you go out in the sport if you want to try and make it as a professional footballer. So for me in 2018, it really shifted. I started to really look at my sport and how I can serve and how I can lead others. And I actually got the opportunity in my last year at university, and I became a captain. So I had the test to lead the guys and really serve and to see how an impact I can get on the pitch, but also off it as well. And it was such a blessing for me to have that job per se, and it really helped me kind of move forward in my professional career on that point because I knew it was so much bigger than myself.
Oh, I love that because I think that's an awareness for everybody, no matter what your skill set or your future. It's this idea that, yeah, it's not about me. And so, especially, I mean, in a team sport, I think that's what I love about team sports. So as an athlete playing for Team Canada, maybe just share one of the highlights or maybe even a learning experience from your World Cup campaign.
Well, the highlight for me was probably putting on the jersey for the first time. I don't have a cap yet. I'm still kind of chasing that as one of my goals, but I put it on for an inter squad we had, and just putting on the red jersey and seeing that maple leaf on my chest, it was such an honor, it was such a blessing, and something that I've worked for, my entire life, basically, to represent my country, and hopefully I'll get to represent them next year at a World Cup. So that was a huge highlight for me. And to be honest, it's always a learning experience. I don't think the learning ever stops for me personally. Each day is something I can get out of the day, and just, like I said before, the passion and the goal to sustain and serving others, how I can serve my country now is something that's even crazy for me to say. So it's just been all an amazing ride, and I just hope to continue it.
Yeah, well, I love that because, again, I think life gives us opportunities, and sometimes those opportunities turn out the way we hoped, and sometimes they don't. So how have you learned to navigate maybe some of the highlights and maybe even some of the disappointments in your life, and maybe how has your faith shaped that in you?
Oh, that's a great question. I think for me, it's just trying to stay neutral. I think trying to stay balanced, even when the really highs come, not to get too high and not to get kind of crazy, and especially when the lows come as well, not to just stay there and stay through those things. So I think it's just trying to stay right in the middle, and obviously my faith is everything to me, and knowing that, professional football is something that I do. It's not who I am. My identity is in something completely different. And even though God has given me these gifts to be a professional footballer and he's given me this platform, I know it's not all who I am. So just remembering that it is just a game at the end of it, a game that I love, but still just trying to stay as neutral as possible.
Oh, I love that because it's so true. Your identity isn't in what you do. It's really who you are. And what you do is just an extension of that. And I know you're a professional athlete, and I know how mentally taxing and difficult that can be. So maybe for those watching, how have you learned to navigate some of the obstacles or the mental difficult challenges that you faced?
I mean, for me, obviously, you realize your support system around you. I have a very, very small circle of friends that I trust, and obviously my family as well, that they've helped me navigate through, teams that I haven't made, or when my contract didn't come, or when it didn't happen when I wanted it to happen. And I think it happened at a perfect time, at a time where I wanted it to happen. And for me, that's how I kind of navigate through things. Never alone. First and foremost, I have God to go through it, and also, my family, my friends, that secondary home per se to get me through those tough times.
Oh, that is great, because I think that's helpful for all of us watching. If we know our identity is rooted in who God says we are, and we have a support system around it, which, of course, in our context can be even like a church family, then you can almost make it through anything. And now, one of the things I love, too, though, is that you serve, and that's a real credit to you. So you serve as the ambassador for Manatech and Kids Sport BC. So just articulate why that role is so important to you, and what's the goal that you have for serving in this role?
I think first and foremost, on a surface level, Manatech has great products. For me as a professional athlete, I obviously watch what I put in my body. I want to put the best things into my body, because my body is my job. At the end of the day, I need it to play football, and their products are amazing. They keep you healthy, and then obviously giving back to the kids sport. It was actually a funny story last year during COVID. I kind of wanted to reach out and see what other things I could do with my platform, and my mom actually told me I was a recipient of kids sport. So right then and there, I called and I said, I need to get involved in this. Put me on as, whoever you guys need, I'll help out, and then be an ambassador. And ever since then, it's kind of difficult being in Montreal and kind of helping my hometown community and of British Columbia, and obviously Aldergrove where I live. But for me, it goes so much deeper than that. Just being able to coach kids and give back to the sport. And I just think back to when I was 5, 6, 7 years old, having a role model or a mentor or a professional footballer come in and really give back and actually care about these kids and raise money so we can get kids off the sidelines and into sport. It's just something that you want to be a part of. And I was a recipient of it. So if I didn't get it, I don't know if I'm here now. So it's just all about, for me, just giving back to my community in my hometown. And I'm partnering with a couple different schools when I'm back in the off season just to get kids active, especially after the pandemic where we've been sitting and lounging around. I want to get kids up and active, and I have a lot more visions and goals for the future in terms of raising money in my whole community and stuff of that sort. But I'm doing the best I can now with what I have and being away, and I can't wait to get back home and see the kids again and just keep raising money.
Well, thank you so much for taking the gifts God's given you, understanding how to use them, and for giving back. You are an inspiration to many. So thanks for being with us here today.
Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it.
And now, this is how famed Olympian Jackie JoynerKersee got her winning mindset.
Jackie JoynerKersee is called the greatest female athlete of the 20th century.
That's just a title. I know how hard I had to work. If I know that each time I go out there, I give my best, and the people who believe in me, and I'm very respectful, and I'm very thankful for us getting to that next level, then that's what's more important to me than being called the world's greatest.
She's a 6-time Olympic medalist, winner of 3 gold, 1 silver, and 2 bronze, after competing in 4 straight summer games. Her 1988 heptathlon world record still stands.
To make an Olympic team is tough enough, but then sometimes you're not gonna come out on top. My first Olympic Games, I walked away with a silver medal, but I walked away knowing that I have the ability to do better. It's the mental toughness that I think that separate the good, the best, and the greatest. And so for me, I want to be the toughest athlete out there mentally.
Where did you get your mental toughness?
Probably growing up in my hometown of East St. Louis and learn survival skills. But then as you evolve and you grow up, then some of those survival skills that was just playing a tag game when you were 9, 10 years of age, you actually have to use those same skills to make it through life.
Her life was never easy, beginning with 2 of her biggest hurdles.
Losing my mom when I was a freshman in college, and she was really my best friend, my support. It was really rough. The second biggest challenge is being an asthmatic and trying to be the best athlete in the world. You know, not knowing if I'm going to be able to breathe because I'm allergic to the grass. And some days I look like I shouldn't be out on the track.
What drove you?
I really wanted to be one of the best. And I remember when I competed in my first race at the age of 9, I finished last. I felt that if I came to practice every day, if I could improve a 1/10 of a second if I was running or a 1/2 of an inch if I was jumping, that meant that the work that I was doing was paying off.
For the gold medalists in particular, life is going to change for them. You walk through this. What's the biggest challenge on their re-entry back home?
You go back to the drawing board. You have to really reinvent yourself. You have to be willing to still work hard. You can't become complacent. Assess what went well for you, what went wrong, but stick with it.
And stick with it, she did. She intentionally carried this ongoing commitment into her retirement.
Never forget where I came from.
Jackie's track and field success brought international recognition and her choice of opportunity. It's not only what she chose to do, but where that adds to her growing legacy. She returned here to her hometown of East St. Louis, providing hope for youth in a community that has once again been named as America's most dangerous city.
You deal with violence, you deal with drugs, you deal with people that might be going in the wrong direction, but there is a lot of love in this community. Yes, there's some negativity, but no, the negativity would not overshine or outlive the good that people are trying to do in this community.
The Jackie JoynerKersee Center opened in 2000. The 41,000 square foot, 37-acre facility provides academic support and sports venues for youth and families.
What's most satisfying to you about working with youth?
It's the smiles that you see on their faces, the hugs that you get, the thank yous. And to me, I'm just Jackie from East St. Louis. When I'm in the community, I'm just in the community. But to them, it's like, wow, you accomplished this, you did that. But I think it was so important. If I'm going to inspire, I wanted young people to not just see me on television, but to know that I'm in that community. And that's one of the messages that I do convey to young people is that there is no greater gift that you can give than servicing others. And if you can find it in your heart to service with humility, that is the greatest gift.
Adjacent to the Youth Center is a Metrolink that bears her name, connecting Greater St. Louis and East St. Louis. The link puts the center as the hub for help and hope.
People from all walks of life to come see what we're doing over here is, to me, it's just truly a blessing. Yes, it's a way in as well as a way out. There was so much out there. That's what it is, it's a journey. And you're always just trying to, open the next door.
Who has Jesus Christ been to you?
With Jesus Christ, God, there's no way I could have accomplished all the things that I have been blessed to do. Because I know it just wasn't me. And still today, He leads my life.
Jackie JoynerKersee, Olympic great and community servant, setting the pace and raising the bar for the next generation.
What's your encouragement?
If you love Jesus Christ, don't be afraid to acknowledge it or to acknowledge Him. Don't be afraid to know that we all gonna go through things. Be uplifting, be encouraging, be motivating. Let that be your light.
What does finishing the race well look like to you?
I can't see the finish line. There's still more work need to be done, and I will finish strong. But only He will tell me my time.
What an inspiration Jackie is. I just love her motto, be of service to others. And don't be afraid to acknowledge Christ in all that you do. We don't have to be Olympic athletes to live by that motto, do we? I mean, how many days go by where maybe all we've done is thought about ourselves? And I think Jackie is a great example to us of thinking about others first and how we can represent and serve them. represent Christ and serve them. I'm inspired by her dedication to train. You know, at one point, believe it or not, I trained as a figure skater, and it was hard work. I was up early in the mornings. I was on the ice by 5 a.m., which I admit, I don't love the early morning, but that was a discipline in my life. And then when I was in university, I was on the cheerleading team, and it was in the U.S., so it's a whole other sport of discipline, actually, the practice and the mental toughness that it takes. And I believe that models our Christian life. We're called to be like athletes. In fact, Hebrews 12:11 says this: no discipline seems pleasant at the time, but painful. That's for sure. Later on, however, it produces a harvest of righteousness and peace for those who have been trained by it. There's a lot of truth in that verse, and I've experienced in my own life that when we have spiritual practices or spiritual disciplines in our life, like prayer, like Bible reading, like meditation or silence or giving or serving, this is what actually enables us to live a life that's meaningful and on purpose. We have a resource called Think Boldly, Move Boldly. I think this applies to serving others and to acknowledging Christ in everything we do. So now we have doctors revealing Sarah had multiple blood clots in her brain. Find out how prayer led to a life-saving miracle.
On April 18th, 2020, Sarah Grace and Thomas Richardson welcomed the arrival of their second son, Everett. What was supposed to be a joyful occasion was overshadowed by Sarah's extreme fatigue and headaches that started just days before giving birth.
You know, I've been really sick, I've not been sleeping, that's probably why I'm having these headaches, but they were very severe, and it felt like I was being struck by lightning. It was just so painful.
The day after they brought Everett home, Sarah noticed her legs seemed to be weakening. Then, soon after,
Had taken the nap, and I was like trying to get up, and I was just like, honey, my right side won't move at all. And I remember just seeing this look of panic on his face, and just my heart was pounding in my chest, because that was when I knew, okay, something very serious is wrong.
Thomas rushed his wife to the emergency room at Greensburg Hospital in Indiana, where a CT scan revealed multiple blood clots in Sarah's brain. Meanwhile, Thomas had been asked to leave.
Because of COVID, I said goodbye to her at the hospital in Greensburg. I didn't know if she was going to make it or not.
Thomas had a family member call Sarah's mom, Chris.
I was terrified. My husband and I pretty much ran out the door to go, and at that point, I was sobbing and just saying, Lord, please don't take her. Please don't take her.
Within the hour, Sarah was completely paralyzed and transferred to Indianapolis University Methodist for further evaluation. Doctors determined she had a cerebral venous sinus thrombosis, or CVST, a rare form of stroke that causes bleeding in the brain. Even if she survived, Sarah could be paralyzed for life or lose cognitive function.
I just was afraid that she wasn't going to be herself anymore. I wasn't concerned as much about her being paralyzed as her not knowing who I was or being able to communicate how she was feeling.
To complicate matters, the blood thinners doctors needed to use to dissolve the clots could make the bleeding in her brain worse and even cost Sarah her life.
Part of me had the peace of knowing, okay, if this is my time, you know, I know what awaits me in eternity, but just this terror and sorrow of not being ready to leave my family.
Although COVID prevented Sarah's family and friends from visiting, it didn't stop them from praying.
I believe that God is in control of everything, and yet he moves at the prayers of his children. I was very at peace that God's will was going to be done and that he was listening.
We believe that God is going to heal Sarah. But more important than Sarah's healing is for God to be glorified and for Christ to be made much of. That mattered more than anything.
The next morning, the doctors gave them hopeful news. The brain bleeds had resolved themselves.
Those bleeds didn't resolve themselves. God did that. God did that because that's the power of prayer.
We got to FaceTime with Sarah, and she was very slow, and I kept waiting for her to say something that didn't make any sense, but she was herself. She was the same person that I married.
While doctors could now aggressively treat the blood clots, Sarah was still paralyzed and faced an uncertain future. Even then, she chose to believe and trust God with the outcome.
And I just wanted to say thank you to everyone for your prayers. They mean so much to me.
Lord, I don't know what you're doing with this, but I know that it's big, and I know that it is for a great purpose.
At home with their sons, Thomas faced the possibility that his wife, their mother, might never be the same.
Reading the bedtime stories to Bear, the ones that his mom would read to him the week before, and I could hardly get the words out. That was what was hard.
I would be feeding the baby or playing with blocks with Bear and just praying aloud. Lord, she needs to be here. These boys need her.
The community continued to pray, still believing for complete healing. Then, after 2 long weeks in the hospital,
And all of a sudden I could just do this. And I was so excited, and I kept calling people in the room, and I'm like, look at my fingers, they're moving.
Look at her go.
Lots and lots of little miracles happened to where it was like slowly accumulating to where she could move more and more.
eventually Sarah was sent to inpatient rehab, where by all reports, she made remarkable progress. 2.5 weeks later, on May 22nd, she got the news. She was going home.
It was like this swelling up in my chest, and I felt like I was just gonna bubble over with joy.
The doctors thought she was going to remain a quadriplegic. She walked in the house, sat down on the floor, and held her kids. It was amazing.
Sarah continued to improve, and her 6-month checkup revealed all the clots had disappeared. She's healthy, joyful, and back with the one she loves.
It was incredible because I believe with my whole heart that there is power in prayer.
There'll be just times when I look at her now and I'm just like, wow, you're here. And I didn't know if you ever would be again.
When I see Sarah cleaning her house, playing with her boys, doing all the things that she loves to do, those are all just reminders of God's goodness and of His power.
You know, as you were watching Sarah's story, maybe you had this thought, I need a miracle too. How can that happen for me? Well, in Luke chapter 8, we read this great story. It says, as Jesus was on his way, so Jesus would walk from town to town preaching and teaching, and it says the crowds almost crushed him because they wanted to get close to him. And a woman was there who had been subject to bleeding for 12 years, but no one could heal her. I mean, she was desperate. She had tried literally everything possible. So she came up behind him and touched the edge of his cloak, and immediately her bleeding stopped. Now, it's interesting because she doesn't even know this has happened yet. But Jesus said, who touched me? And when they all denied it, Peter said, Jesus, I mean, there's all kinds of people touching you. And no one wanted to admit it. I think sometimes fear holds us back from seeing what really God wants to do in us. But Jesus said, no, someone touched me. I know this because power has gone from me. And then the woman, seeing that she could no longer go unnoticed, came trembling and fell at his feet in the presence of all the people. She told why she had touched him and how she had been instantly healed. And then he said to her, listen to these beautiful words, daughter, your faith has healed you. Go in peace. And you know, I was thinking about that when we reach out to God, it's kind of like an electronic device. There's a power source in our wall, but it's not until that power source is connected that device can be what it was designed to be. And it's the same for you and I. We need to reach out and be connected to the source of life and healing and power. And his name is Jesus. And so today, do you need a miracle? You can reach out to Jesus, just like Sarah did, and experience that. And we'd love to pray with you. Why not call us today at 1-855-759-0700. We'd love to pray with you and give you this pamphlet, Can I Be Healed? We'll be right back.
You know, there's nothing better than to be a witness to see what God does in someone's life. And just recently I was reminded of that God just is the only way that brings about transformation in someone's life. That's what we are committed to here at 700 Club Canada. Would you like to join us? Well, we invite you. Come and be a partner with us for only $20 a month or more, and we make it really easy. We have Pledge Express that will automate your monthly withdrawal from your bank account, so you don't even have to think about it. You just get to actually think about and celebrate what God is doing through this ministry, through your gift. We have a thank you for you called God is For Us. Give us a call, become a partner with us, and we'll send you this thank you gift.
CBN presents God is For Us, verses of salvation, peace, and victory from the book of Romans.
Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, His good, pleasing, and perfect will.
God is For Us, a new audio recording by Pat Robertson, available now.
What a great interview with Joel. How inspiring is he?
Yeah, I think what I'm learning is that we all have been given gifts, and we can't covet other people's gifts.
Right.
We have to accept ours, but if we use them, we can actually make a lot of impact in the world.
Yeah, and I think that's what's so inspiring about watching the Olympics. Like just watching people use the gifts that God has given them. It's quite extraordinary.
Well, and you know, it's funny because we think of miraculous as these big supernatural events, and they are, but sometimes they're just in little steps of obedience when we are who we were called to be.
Yeah.
That is the true miracle.
Yeah, well, I learned so much from athletes because I just find that it actually makes me really, you know, focus in on, you know, sort of digging deeper into my faith, digging deeper into life.
I wasn't going to say anything, but you did mention cheerleading.
Yes, come on, okay?
Okay, I'm going to give you that. I'm going to give you that. Well, we do have a couple of praise reports today. Marie, thank you for sending us this report. You said, thank you for being a prayer partner when my family needed prayer a few months ago. We were victorious in our trials. Wow. Praise Jesus. We do celebrate with you. Thank you.
That's amazing. And Marilyn said, God has been so good in my life. He is answering our prayers. My father's health is getting better. Thank you, Marilyn, for telling us that, because that's what we're committed to see God change lives.
Through prayer, we see miracles.
Yeah.
And our power verse for today is found in John 14:12, where it says, very truly I tell you, whoever believes in me, Jesus speaking, will do the works I have been doing.
And they will do even greater things than these because I'm going to the Father. Now that's a challenge to live up to, right?
Absolutely, but it's a promise as well.
Yeah, and we're also given what we need because we're given the Holy Spirit.
That's right. All we have to do is be obedient and God will do the miracle.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for watching today.
To contact us, visit 700club.ca.
A favorite Superbook story about a kid and a giant, and a young man's faith adventure leads him to the Bible.